Genesis is foundational to morality. And the more that you teach children and adults and congressmen and presidents and Supreme Court judges and heads of Hollywood and heads of corporate America and university professors that they're just animals descended from some other animal, which descended from pond scum, which came into existence by chance in the primordial oceans, on an earth that formed by chance, around a sun that formed by chance, as a result of a big bang that happened by chance. The more you teach people that, the more they're going to reject Genesis, and the more they reject Genesis, the more they're going to reject biblical morality. It makes perfect sense in an evolutionary view. Listen to the words of William Provine, one of the leading evolutionists in America. He grew up in the church in the Midwest. But he was an atheist when he said this. Let me summarize my views on what modern evolutionary biology tells us loud and clear. There are no gods, no purposes, no goal-directed forces of any kind. There's no life after death. When I die, I'm absolutely certain that I'm going to be dead. That's the end for me. There's no ultimate foundation for ethics, no ultimate meaning to life, and no free will for humans either. Wow! Doesn't it excite you today to know that there's absolutely no purpose or meaning to your life and there's no right or wrong? Now, I know he didn't really believe that. I never met him, but I know that if I walked into his office at the university while he was tapping away on his laptop and I picked up his laptop and started to walk out, he wouldn't sit there and say, well, you can do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong. Hey, you can't do that. That's stealing. Hey, Dr. Provine, what's stealing? That's just your personal opinion. I don't happen to agree with you. And I've got a gun in my pocket. So what are you going to do about it? No, I wouldn't actually do that. But you see the problem? So what was he doing? He was stealing his morality from the Christian religion that he grew up with. So he'd say stealing is wrong. If you kill my mother, that's wrong. But he had no basis for it in his evolutionary worldview. Well, I know he doesn't believe that anymore because he died in 2015. He now knows there's life after death. He now knows there's right and wrong. He now knows there's a God to whom he is accountable. You see, if 6 creation days are in your past, that means this book is true right from the very first verse. That means that God made you and me, and he makes the rules. And it's not a matter of your opinion or my opinion or majority vote in your school or majority vote in the culture or majority vote in Congress or the Supreme Court. God makes the rules. And he says life begins at conception, and therefore abortion is murder. And he says marriage is one man and one woman for life, and there are only 2 genders. And he says he's the giver and taker of life, and therefore euthanasia and assisted suicide are wrong. God makes the rules, and he makes his rules for our good and for our flourishing. And when we rebel against his created order and his laws, sooner or later we will suffer. But if millions of years are in your past, then this book is not true. It's just written by pre-scientific, primitive, superstitious Jews and Christians. So you don't need to pay any attention to what they say. Their moral standards are just their personal opinion. So you can make your own rules. So what's good for you is good for you. What's good for me is good for me, which is a great idea. Unless you're all black and you live in my town and I'm white and the mayor and a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Or you're all Jewish and you live in my country and my name is Adolf Hitler. Then it's not a nice idea, because it means that whoever has the power determines what's right. And that leads either to totalitarian oppression and injustice or to anarchy, where everybody just does what's right in their own eyes. And right here in America in the last few years, we've seen little evidences of both of those kinds of things. Anarchy and totalitarianism. It matters what you believe about where you came from. And so we see all these issues in our culture. And a lot of people think that they're the problem. But they're not the problem. They're the symptom of the problem. The problem is at the foundational level of what we believe about where we came from, and in particular, what we believe about Genesis. And for the last 200 years, the scientific majority, controlled by an atheist or secular humanist worldview, they have been using science, falsely so-called, to hammer away at Genesis 1 to 11. It is the most attacked part of the Bible over the last 200 years. And during those 200 years, many Christian leaders have helped to destroy the foundation by teaching the church, oh, it doesn't matter when God created, how God created, or how long He took to create. Don't worry about that. Just believe in Jesus. Many Christian leaders have said, we've got to do something about those moral issues. We've got to resist the abortion agenda. We've got to develop crisis pregnancy centers to help women in stressful, unexpected, troubling pregnancies. We need to support them lovingly and help them carry that baby to term and either keep it or give it up to a loving family for adoption. And they say, we need to resist the homosexual agenda. Well, I agree with those things, but here's the problem. Many of the Christian leaders who are telling the church to fight the moral issues are also telling the church, it doesn't matter what you believe about the age of the earth. Don't worry about that. But the foundations are being destroyed. But it's not just a battle of evolution versus creation. It's really a battle of man's word against God's word.